The Atlanta Hawks had one of the best off seasons this year. They brought in some good experienced players. They had a good draft pick at number 6 overall, and people were hoping that this year the Atlanta Hawks might make a playoff push. Me personally, I for sure thought they'd be in the playoffs at this stage. We are at the All-Star break now, half through the NBA season, and at this stage of the season, I thought the Atlanta Hawks would be in the top 8 in the Eastern Conference, especially that looking at the New York Knicks. They're 5th in the East, so it shows that I just thought the Hawks this year they'd be very good, but so far they've really struggled. They're currently 11th in the Eastern Conference with a 16-20 record. They've ended up firing their head coach Lloyd Pierce, and they ended up bringing in Nate McMillan on an interim basis. Hawks fans, I don't know what you think of Nate McMillan as a coach. He was in Indiana for a good few years, never got past the first round of the playoffs. So not the most successful playoff record, but he does get teams in the playoffs. So it's up to you, Hawks fans, how you feel about him. But me personally, I just thought he'd have a much better season than you have of date. But the good news is, you're only halfway through the NBA season. There's another half to go, and you can still make this playoffs for sure. Now let's get into what you did in the 2020 off season, because I think you had one of the best off seasons of all the teams. First of all, you brought in Bogdanovic on a 4-year, $72 million deal. You sold him off the Milwaukee Bucks, who tried to get him from the Kings in a sign and trade. That the NBA shut that down. The Bucks tried to get him too early, so then it left the Hawks with an open lane to get a great scorer, a good shooting guard in Bogdanovic. But he's only ended up playing 11 games out of 36 with injuries. Injuries have really hampered this Hawks team for sure. One of the main reasons why they're not in the playoffs right now. So Bogdanovic, on paper, a great deal, great signing, but in reality, when he played 11 games, it's so far it's not been a good move. Number 2 that they brought in was Rajon Rondo. Now, as a Lakers fan myself, I saw Rondo in the regular season last year, and he was trash. But in the playoffs, he was different gravy. Playoff Rondo is for sure a thing. He was unbelievable. He signed him on a 2-year, $15 million contract, and he's only played 20 games. So he's missed 16 games with injury. Now Rondo, he's having one of his worst seasons. We'll get into that in a second, but he, on paper, another good deal. More experience to bring into this young Hawks team. And also Danilo Gallinari. He was brought in on a 3-year, $60 million deal, and he's only played 24 games. And he had a great season with the OKC last year. He'd bring scoring to this team, and more leadership, more experience. Now, unfortunately, things haven't panned out so well. Bogdanovic, in the 11 games, he's averaging 9.5 points per game and 34% shooting from 3. Rondo is averaging career lows in points scored at only 3.6 points a game, and assists per game, only 3.5 assists per game. So Rondo, he's really struggling, but I wouldn't be too surprised at that. He's really bad in the regular season for a good few years now. In the playoffs, he just seems to turn it on. But what's the point of having a playoff Rondo if you don't make the playoffs? You need to get to the playoffs to get the best out of Rajon Rondo, especially in the contract. He's getting $15 million for 2 years. He's 35 years old now, so the clock's ticking. And also Gallinari, he looks like he's starting to decline, unfortunately. I'm a big fan of Gallinari, and he was linked to the Lakers in the off season. Now he's all for it, bringing scoring off the bench. I thought he'd be a great addition to this Hawks team. Take some scoring out of Trae Young, and and a good 3-point shooter. Well, so far this season, he's having a career low since his rookie season in scoring at 11 points per game. He's also shooting 38% from 3, and he did an unbelievable game against the Celtics where he had 10 threes. But all in all, it's been a very disappointing move so far. Gallinari seems to be declining. 32 years old now, so it's starting to Father Time starting to hit him. Now the off-season moves so far have failed, but there's still another half to go. All 3 have been injured. They've missed games for different reasons. Gallinari, as I said, looks a bit washed. Rondo injured and playing really poor, and Bogdanovic just injured. Rondo, as I said, regular seasons, it's not his thing. Just get to the playoffs with him and you'll be fine, I think. Gallinari, it's a bit more concerning. He can still shoot the 3 pretty efficiently. He can still bring scoring, but last year he was averaging 18 points per game with the OKC. So it's a big drop off for him, and they'd be expecting a bit more from Gallinari. Maybe he can turn it around in the second part of the season. He did get a shorter off season. He was in the bubble with the OKC last year, so he had a shorter off season. So maybe this All-Star break will do him good. They also had the number 6 overall pick, as I mentioned, where they selected Onyeka Okongwu. He's a centre. Most Hawks fans, I think, were pretty satisfied at the time anyway, that I can remember, with this pick. More centre depth. You already have Clint Capella, but you have a lot of front court pieces now, so he's not been getting the game time. He's only played 16 games, and when he has played, he's averaged 3.2 points per game, 2.4 rebounds in 9 minutes. So he's having little to no impact in this Hawks team. Hindsight's a great thing, but of course right now you can look at it and say they drafted the wrong guy. They have enough front court depth. John Collins, we'll get into him later, but he's a front court player. You got Gallinari, you got Clint Capella, who's having a pretty good season. So they have a lot of front court depth. But at the time, most Hawks fans are happy with this move. But Okongwu only averaging 9 minutes a game. He's not getting on the court in 16 games, so he's having little to no impact, as I said. And of course, hindsight, you could draft loads of players who are better than this guy. But maybe he can turn it around. Now on to John Collins. He wanted the max contract. He's up for extension this last off season. He wanted the max. I think the Hawks were going to pay him 90 million, and he's going to become a free agent this off season. So I think his future is not with the Hawks. But this year as well, another thing that hasn't helped is he had a falling out with Trae Young, and when Trae Young's the main man of the team, that never helps. So but all things considered, he's had a very good season, John Collins. One of the bright sparks in his Hawks team. John Collins this season, he's averaged 18 points per game, 7.6 rebounds a game, 39% shooting from 3, which is very good shooting for a big man from behind the arc. And, he's a crucial part of this Hawks offense, in my opinion. But he's more than likely to leave this Hawks team now. He wants the max contract. He rejected the $90 million extension. So he's a goner, in my opinion. But if the Hawks want to make the playoffs, keeping John Collins, you could do worse than that. In my opinion, they should trade him if he's just want to be there. Had a falling out with Trae Young, try and get some assets for him. But I think it's unfortunate because I think I definitely think they overpaid on Gallinari. Could have saved some of that money back for John Collins, but I think he's more than likely going to be out the door either before the trade deadline or in the off season. Another player who's been a bright spark this season is DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter, he's had a good season for sure, and he's also he's missed a good few games, so that's his only problem. He's only played in 18 games so far this season for the Hawks, but in those 18 games he's averaged 17.2 points per game, 5.4 rebounds, and 36.6% shooting from 3 on 4.6 threes a game. So DeAndre Hunter, he's doing well this season. He can hold his head up high. This collapse, this underachievement kind of thing isn't his problem. He's done well. He just needs to get on the court more. That's his only problem. And then as for the main man of this team, Trae Young, he's had a weird season, Trae Young, in my opinion. He went from an all-star starter last season to not even being selected as an all-star for this year. And also include that people like AD couldn't play. Devin Booker got brought in. He ended up not being playing. So Mike Conley got picked ahead of him. So Trae Young wasn't anywhere near becoming an all-star. I think he was 11th overall in voting in the East. So he was nowhere near it. Players don't really like him. He's always flopping and shouting abuse at the refs. Fans don't really like him unless you're a Hawks fan. Flopping again. But this year, statistically, he's had a great season, averaging 26.4 points per game, 9.4 assists a game, and 38% shooting from 3 on 6 threes a game. And this is only his third season in the NBA. And I think it's too early to say that he can't lead a team to either a championship or a playoff run. He can, in my opinion. It's very too early, but I think he can. He's a great, unbelievable scorer. Obviously, he doesn't play any defense. He's kind of like a B-Tech James Harden that way. I've scored at a very high level, but can't really play defense. But he's a big part of this Hawks team. No need to give up on Trae Young yet. He's definitely the main man here. And I think if the Hawks are going to have any success, Trae Young will be a massive part of that. I think the Hawks this season, they came with big expectations, bringing in big names like Danilo Gallinari, Rajon Rondo. People thought they drafted well with Okongwu, obviously Bogdanovic as well. Things are kind of falling apart. Firing the head coach, players injured. That's the main problem with the Hawks. They are underachieving right now. As we're halfway through the NBA season, the Atlanta Hawks have underachieved so far, 11th in the East as this video has been recorded, which isn't good enough for the Hawks. But you can point at injuries. Bogdanovic missed chunks of the season. Gallinari's missed chunks and looks pretty washed. Rondo has missed chunks and has not looked great. Okongwu can't get on the court. John Collins has had a falling out with Trae Young and he wants the max. So there's very few bright sparks in this Hawks team. Can they turn around? You guys tell me. Can this Atlanta Hawks team turn this around and make the playoffs? Me, personally, of course they can. They're still 11th in the East. Top 10 make the playoffs. Playing tournament for sure for the Hawks. I still think making the top 8, I wouldn't put it past them. Hopefully they will, because I had a lot of faith in this Hawks team. We do something special this year. So far, no. But There's still a second half of the season to go, so we'll have to wait and see. But anyway guys, that's the video. Tell me what you think. Are the Hawks underachieving? And were they overhyped before the start of the season? Did we expect too much? So you guys tell me that. And also, thanks for watching. Make sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications so we get at least 3 videos out a week. And if there's any breaking news, we'll make another one. So guys, thanks for watching. When all that said, I'm out of here.